I have a daughter who's a primary school teacher, so this is very, very close to me in terms of kind of her experience. But at the same time, I also think we need to be cautious about the notion of dysfunctional families. I don't think any of us come from anything other than a dysfunctional family, and dysfunctionality is not kind of the domain of the poor. I think what we see constantly in our work with young people is that many of them live in complex families, where there are many kind of sort of components to it and compositions, but there are assets within that as well. And there are kind of great opportunities that come from living in families that are quite complex and offer kind of different kind of relationships and things that are useful for them. The difficulty is in our approach to that, and I think there is a bit of a tension between the relationship between family and school in those situations, because it's harder and harder, I think, for teachers and for schools to have the kind of relationship with families that allows them to understand, to have kind of contact, to have kind of meaningful relationships with them that can give them the basis in which to jointly and collectively kind of work with those children. I think that we push schools into a kind of an Ofsted kind of obsession, really, to the point where their main kind of driver is about attainment and achievement, because they'll get into trouble if they don't, when so many teachers, so sorry, there's a personal view here, what they really want to do, of course, is to engage with the children and the families, and when I say families, not just the parents, but all kind of features within that family in order to do better.
Leroy?
Yeah, actually my daughter's a teacher as well, but she's in a PRU, and pupil referral unit, where a lot of our students, they seem to have ended up there because, from what they tell her and her staff, is because the teachers don't know how to really play to their strengths. And what we heard earlier, I think it was Steve, who was talking about how, he used to express himself in a negative way. And also, it was around the parents not knowing their rights. So sometimes they would fall into the trap of actually withdrawing their child, and just to not knowing their rights and allowing the child to go into a PRU or even go to another school which was miles away or difficult to get to. And that was the other thing, that the parents not knowing their rights, the youngsters believing that the teachers really didn't understand them, and them thrashing out, they ended up in a PRU. Fortunately, some PRUs can be seen as colleges of crime, that you're 4 times more likely to be involved in crime if you're in a PRU than if you're in a normal school. So again, when I was in Hackney, I used to be on the Learning Trust, which was the education department. And I used to have some real strong conversations with the heads of the schools, because I used to say to them, when you exclude that child's my problem and the public's problem. And you have to recognise it's a sense of failure on you that child is now more likely going to get groomed on the street, be involved in crime, and becomes a problem for the wider society. So it's a question of, making sure that the schools are tied in with that sort of wider public health approach to ensure that parents really know their rights, because some of them do feel lost, and especially if they've got 3 jobs. In all honesty, they're lucky if they go to a parents' evening or something like that. And again, they're youngsters falling foul of the street justice and not the justice of the state to help them.
Leroy, thank you. Thank you to everyone on our panel. As ever with these types of events, we only get to scratch the surface, but at least it's been a very thought-provoking and shocking evening of discussion and the reality check of what it's like being a young person living in poverty in the capital. I'd like to thank all the guests on the panel this evening for giving up their time, especially on such a treacherous night out there.